Hello, everyone. Welcome to Project Likkutei Torah. We are in the fourth chapter, fourth ois of the Pekudei Mishkan on daf Daled, the fourth daf of Likkutei Torah, Parshas Pekudei, and we have this amazing, fascinating analysis of Yerushalayim and the Shvatim, the tribes, and how it all connects to what we were speaking about earlier about the unity of Yud K with Vav He, first two letters and last two letters of Hashem's name. And we're saying that in the Psukim in Tehillim, chapter Kuf Chaf Beis, says Yerushalayim Abnuyah Kishuchu B'Lash Hashem Al Shvatim Shivtei Ka Edus L'Yisrael Lahides Hashem Havaya, that is actually referring to Yerushalayim Shalom Maila. It's actually a higher level of Yerushalayim, a spiritual Yerushalayim, where the Mikdash and the Mizbeach and all these things it's already built in its full grandeur and glory in the supernal heavens. It's called the heaven of Zvul, it's called in the Gemara. And what does it mean, the Shesham Alu, that the tribes descended? It's really referring to the fact that they descended to Yerushalayim Shalom Maila. And the whole idea is, as the Shalah writes, that Yerushalayim Shalom Mata is the physical land of Israel and physical land of Jerusalem. And that is connected to the lower name of Hashem, which is Adonai. Aleph Daled Nun Yud, which is considered the Heichal, which is the same gematria as the word Heichal, He Yud Chaf Lamed. And so how it works is there's a fusion of Havaya and Adonai, that it's brought on the pasuk in Habakkuk that Havaya the Heichal Kodshay, meaning the name of Adonai acts as a sanctuary, so to speak, for the name of Havaya, which is, I guess, the place where Havaya is able to dwell and be manifest through Adonai, through the Lord name of Hashem, which is able to unite the Yerushalayim Shalom Maila with the Yerushalayim Shalom Mata, which is the unification of Yud K with Vav K. And another fascinating insight is that Yerushalayim has the words in it, Yira Shalem, right? The complete awe. So not only do we have a Yerushalayim Shalom Maila and a Yerushalayim Shalom Mata, we also have a Yira Ilah and Yira Tata, as is well known in many other places in Chassidus. And we have two levels of Shalom, right? As it says in the pasuk in Yeshaya, Shalom, Shalom L'Rachek V'L'Karei, which represents these two unifications and hamshachas of that we're speaking about here. We have the hamshacha of Yud K, the higher level, which is through the mitzvahs leisase, and then we have Vav K, which is drawn down through performing the mitzvahs ase, and that's the whole inyan of the mitzvahs ase. It was the last, which is the Vav K, is the whole inyan of Yerushalayim Shalom Mata, and Yerushalayim Shalom Maila is the inyan of Yud K. And that's why it says in the pasuk in Tehillim that Shesham Alu Shvatim, that their descending of the Shvatim to Yerushalayim Shalom Mata is specifically through the fulfillment of the mitzvahs Aseh. And so Yerushalayim Shalom Maila, it says in the pasuk that Sham Alu Shivtei Ka Edus L'Yisrael. Specifically, it connects the ascent to Yerushalayim Shalom Maila with the first two letters of Hashem's name, Yud K. They're the Shivtei Ka, Shivtei, Yud, and He. And that is an Edus Israel. So we're going to explain what is the connection of Ka, Yud K, the first letters of Hashem's name, to that Hinyan of Edus. So we have, by way of analogy, The whole inyan of Edus is the idea of revealing something that is prior concealed. For example, you don't need witnesses for something that everybody's aware of. It's so obvious. Like, you don't need witnesses to say, oh, that the sky is blue, or I don't know, that the sun is shining, or something that's so obvious and apparent to everyone. You need Adim when there's something that is not so obvious that you're having a court case to determine, and you have Adim that saw what happened, and so they can testify. So they're revealing something that's prior concealed. So that is what the Edus, Shivtei Edus Yisrael accomplishes. That the Shvatim act as agents or witnesses to testify and reveal to the Jewish people the name of Hashem, Yud-Kei, the name of Ka, the name of Hashem, the first two letters of Hashem's name, which is the whole inyan of Yerushalayim Shalom Maila, which is called Alma Da'atkesיא. It's concealed from us. And this level should be united with the lower two letters of Hashem's name, Yud Vav Kei, Vav He, Vav He, which is the whole idea of drawing it down into kelim, into vessels. And that's the Alma Da'atkesיא, the revealed world, because it can reveal it. And that's why Yerushalayim Shalom Mata is revealed to us, meaning we can travel there, we can go to Yerushalayim Shalom Mata. It's a physical place. And that's the whole inyan that we say is Zichri, the we were saying before, the word Zichri and the Shmi Leilam Ze Zichri, the Dur, is the whole inyan of Vavke, the second two letters, the second of the four letters of Hashem's name, which is connected to Shem Adnai, which is Yerushalayim Shalom Mata. And that ends up being the source of the lower three worlds, Bria, Yitzir, Nasiya, of Seder Shtalshlus. So by there, you don't really need the concept of Edus because it's already very much revealed already, meaning Bia, the worlds that we experience, is already apparent. So we don't need Edus, we don't need testimony. We need testimony on Yud-Kei, on the higher name of Hashem, which is completely concealed from us. That we need holy, righteous tzaddikim, or the Shvatim, to help us recognize that. And that's why it's called the Alma Da'atkesיא, the concealed world, because it's higher than Seder Shtalshlus. And it's not able to be, I guess, held and transferred and revealed through any kli, any vessel. And therefore, the mshacha of this level, it says, Shivtei Edus Yisrael, that there's no mamashus, there's no tangibility to the name of Yud-Kei. It's because it's so lofty, we can't relate to it, but we do have an edus to it. We have a testimony, we have a testimony that can give us knowledge about its existence. And that's why the word edus is the same letters, deos, which means knowledge. And that's what it says in the pasuk. Another pasuk in Tehillim, Vayakam edus Yaakov. And another pasuk in Tehillim says, Ve'idvoisi zoy lamdim. So now we can explain what it means, edus Yisrael. It says by the menorah, the westernmost lamp of the menorah, it was actually called an edus. The Naaman is called. Why? But it was a testimony to the fact that the Shechina dwells amongst the Yidden. Because why? The pshat in the Prat of the Gemara is that it would have the same amount of oil as all the other of the 7 cups of the menorah, but what would happen is that it would actually last and stay lit longer, way more than all the other lamps, because it would all be lit in the, I guess, dusk as night was coming in, And when all the other lamps burnt out, it got finished in the morning, the Ner Maravi lamp, the oil would keep burning all the way until the next day, all the way until, for a full 24 hours, until the other lamps needed to be relit, and they would use that Ner Maravi to light the other lamps. So that's the whole idea, that it was an edus. It was a testimony. It was a miraculous, beyond nature thing. So this is all through physical action, that the lamp was lit longer. And all this is literally a testimony to this miracle that was beyond nature through this physical thing. And it showed that the Shekhinah dwelt amongst the Jewish people, even though it was really impossible to comprehend this miracle. And thus it explained this whole concept of Edus Yisrael, to the fact that the Yidden in the Beis Hamikdash, it says in Pirkei Avos that they would be oimdim tzfufim mishtachvim miravachim. They would be standing. A miracle would happen that they would be standing completely packed like sardines, and then miraculously, when it came down to bow and to prostrate themselves, they would have plenty of space. So how can that be? That would be also an edus, revealing something that's so totally supernatural within the natural world. And that would be, I guess, that connects to the idea of revealing something from Yerushalayim Shalom Maila down here Amata. So that would be so that's what the as the Al-Sheikh explains. So similarly, the mitzvahs are also called edus. They're also called testimony. We have a pasuk in Tehillim that says "B'derech idvoisecha sasti," connecting the edus to mitzvahs. For example, tzitzis is considered an edus to remember as testimony for the mitzvahs. It's brought down in pasuk, and tefillin, it's brought down in Gemara. Tefillin de Marielma, that it reminds us of Hashem. The sukkah is a testimony. The fact that it's to the makifim el yonim, to the supernal, lofty makif energy of Hashem, and in their essence, they're obviously all very different mitzvahs, but they all have the one thing in common, that they are edus. They are all testimonies to different aspects of Hashem. And also with regards to Torah learning, we have two aspects of Torah learning. We have Nigla Torah, Nister. And so the Nister of Torah would represent this Yud-Kei, the Nistaris Lashem Elokeinu, the concealed matters, that is really Hashem's secret, so to speak. That would be the Nister. And then we also have Nigla Torah, which is Niglois Lanu Levanenu, revealed to us and to our children. And despite all this, specifically from the Niglois, we have a testimony to anyone that can understand, anyone that has intellectual capabilities can understand the Niglois. And it actually acts as a testimony to the Nistaris, to the Nister of Torah. I guess my understanding would be because of all the hints within Nigla to different aspects of Nister. Just like, for example, another analogy would be, for example, the body. We know how the body has a soul. I mean, we don't see the soul, but we know the body has a soul by the fact that the body is moving around and is talking, is interacting, and has a spiritual existence, elements of spiritual existence. So that is a testimony through the Nigla, is a testimony to the Nister. So too, the mitzvahs, the physical mitzvahs, is the Niglais, and is the revealed testimony for the pnimius of the soul of the mitzvah and the soul of the Torah, which is Nister of Torah. And through this, we can explain the whole concept of Edus Yisrael. The whole explanation is Yisrael is the level of Adam de La'ila, Shalakise, supernal man. And this is the idea of Vavke, which is called Niglais, compared to Yudke, which is called Nistaris. However, despite all this, it's drawn down from this level of Yudke to be enclosed in the last two letters of Hashem's name, Vavke. Meaning to say, the whole concept of mוחין deza, the intellect of within emotions, I guess, that is drawn down into it from Cahnman bina. So we have our emotions. There's the intellectual component within our emotions that receives from it Cahnman bina, the chayes from Cahnman bina directly. Now, despite the fact that this is only a ha'ara, it's only an illumination, and it's not the actual. It's only an illumination of a person's Cahnman bina that is goes into the emotions, the mוחין deza, but it still is, I guess, an edus, similar to what we were saying before, to the Cahnman bina of the person. So, which is the whole idea of revealing that which is concealed, revealing within the Vavke of Hashem's name what that which is concealed in the Yudke of Hashem's name. And so that's why it's called edus mamish, which is the level of these nistaris. Yashas chayshach sisray, idea of revealing the darkness, the concealment of Hashem. That's totally beyond our comprehension and ability to relate. And despite the fact all this, in its essence, it's impossible to have this nistaris, so to speak, this concealed element of Hashem completely revealed down here below. Nevertheless, it is drawn down in a revealed manner to the Yidden in a supernal way, I guess. The expression he uses is Yisrael de La'ila, until it becomes an edus, until it becomes a edus mamish, a complete testimony to this level of Yudke. And meaning to say that edus, as we said before, edus is the same letters as the word deis, as we have in the pasuk Kel deis avaya, it says in Shmuel Aleph. And so edus is connected to the idea of das, which is understanding. Das, understanding, is something that draws down, is mamshich, this higher level of Yudke, of which is connected to the concept of Cahnman bina, into Vavke, which is the emotions, because the das is connected to the neck, and it's that transfer that helps bring down the intellect into the emotions. So, which is exactly what edus does. Edus draws down the beyond the nistaris into the niglas, the yudke into vavke. We can see the whole concept of yud is bittul. Yud represents the bittul of a Jew that he has to Hashem, which is higher than understanding. Hey represents this baininus, meditation, contemplation on the greatness of Hashem. And these two levels are like two friends that don't separate. Train rain delay mishparshin. And that the hey and this baininus acts as a heichal, as like a sanctuary to reveal the bittul of the yud. So the yud and the hey of Hashem's name works in tandem to reveal Hashem into the world, just like a heichal does, just like a sanctuary does. And this is the whole idea of the Shvatim being Shiftei Ka Edus L'Yisrael, because they reveal and draw down through fulfilling the mitzvah leisase this concept of iskafia and bittul, and in a revealed way. And this is actually explains the continuation of the pasuk. Shisham alu lahodos l'shem havaya. That's how the pasuk ends in the Tehillim, to praise Hashem, the name of Havaya. So why do we say the word lahodos? We should have said ladas, because lahodos is the idea of recognizing, acknowledging something that is completely beyond our understanding. So the letter of Yod of Shem Havaya is really completely so beyond our contemplation, that that we're not able to fully comprehend and grasp it. And that's the whole difference between a bracha and a haidaya. A bracha is the idea of mshacha, which is the idea of revealing something completely. But haidaya is the idea of just recognizing something that's beyond our intellectual capacity. And that's the difference between mitzvahs aseh and mitzvahs loisaseh. So mitzvahs aseh is connected to Vavke, Hashem's name, which is connected to the Ramach Ivarim, the 248 limbs of the king, which is the light that's drawn down in a revealed way into the Kli. And this is like the level of bracha, not haida, as opposed to haida. And therefore, so many brachas. That's why for mitzvahs aseh, we make many different brachas. Masha'en kain mitzvahs leisaseh, we don't necessarily make that many. There's not many brachas that are made on mitzvahs leisaseh, because there's nothing to be mamshich in a revealed way through a keli. But mitzvahs leisaseh, that's from the higher level of Hashem's name, the Yud-K, that comes from the concealed word, Almah da'tכסיא, and it's not grasped in any comprehensible way, but rather only through haidah, through just mere acknowledgement. And therefore, we don't have any deed or action that you can do to create an actual vessel for the godliness to come down into the world. It's only through not doing something you're able to draw down, allow, and not impede the flux of godly energy and life force that is from this very, very lofty high level to come down into the world. And we can't really comprehend it. That's why we can only acknowledge it. Lahodos, haidah. And through all this, it's understood also the reason why through iskafia we're able to accomplish the greatest of heights, through allowing the greatness of Hashem to be manifest. Specifically, that's through iskafia is focusing on the loisaseh. And through the loisaseh, the mitzvahs loisaseh, through closing our eyes to not see things we shouldn't be looking at, or not hearing things that we should be hearing, or not speaking about things we shouldn't be speaking about, or using all of our senses to just restrain ourselves from transgressing mitzvahs leisaseh, we're able to draw down this lofty level of Yud-K, which is much higher than we would ever even be able to draw down to express and accomplish, even greater than through the mitzvahs aseh. So, and we're able to arouse and draw down this level of Yud-K, which is completely concealed, as it says, Hanistaros l'Hashem Elokeinu, as we said earlier. Now, moving on to Ois Hey, chapter 5, we're actually going to explain the very first question we had in the mimer, And why does it say Mishkan twice in the first verse of Parshas Pekudei? Eila Pekudei Mishkan, Mishkan ha'edus. It says it twice because the first Mishkan is alluding to the mitzvah Aseh, which is Yerushalayim Shalamata, and the second Mishkan is mitzvah Aseh, Yerushalayim Shalamayla, and which very powerful idea, which is all connected to the Vav. The Vav of Vavke is what draws down the Shekhinah down here, which is why the word Kadosh has a Vav in it, to draw down the lofty holiness through the positive mitzvahs Aseh, the 2 mitzvahs Aseh. And then after the doing the avodah of the mitzvahs Aseh, we can have Mishkan ha'edus, the second Mishkan, which is the level Yud K, which is the Kodesh Elyon, which is the word Kodesh without the Vav, because there's no Hamshacha, it's just completely beyond, and that's through fulfilling the mitzvahs Leisaseh. And to explain this idea further, it says Eila Pekudei Mishkan. The first word of the pasuk says Eila. So what is Eila? It's Gematria 36, which is interesting because 36 is 6 times 6. 6 is the midos. So 6 times 6 is the fullest expression of the midos because each midah has one of the midas within it. And it's expressing the fullest expression. That's why it says Lacha Hashem Agdula V'Gvura. Lacha is the gematria of 50, which corresponds to the 50 Shari Bina, which is also the level of Mi Bara Ela. The word Mi of Mi Bara Ela is also gematria 50. Therefore, the 6 midos is connected to the idea of Elas, as the Vav of Hamshacha, the Vav and the Hey of Hashem's name. Because every midah includes each other, which you get to 36. And that's actually connected to the 6 orders of the Mishnah, the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. Specifically through learning Mishnayos, we're able to accomplish what the Vav accomplishes in the Vav Hey of Hashem's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, because we draw down that level of godliness through the mitzvahs Aseh in a revealed way. And that explains in a nutshell, Eila Pekudei HaMishkan, that the Pekudei, the whole idea of Pekudei actually is the idea of yichud and intimacy, as it says that in the Gemara that chayiv adam lifkodes ishtai, a person is obligated to lifkodes ishtai, which is the idea of unity and intimacy. So counting is intimacy because you connect, just like when you count, making a counting of something, it shows that you have a relationship and connection to the thing you're counting. And so Eila goes on the Hamshacha, Pekudei is the unification, Ha-Mishkan goes on the last letter Hey of Hashem's name, because Mishkan is connected to the idea of Hey because its dwelling is the Shekhinah and it's Malchus. It also has the letter Hey at the beginning of the word. So we see the Vav and Hey of Hashem's name in these first 3 words of the pasuk, Eila Pekudei Mishkan. And so the whole Avodah is the Yichud Kuchibrich L'Shechim, as we say at the beginning of Baruch Shamar. And specifically through learning Torah, we accomplish this Vavke accomplishment with the Kadesh, with the Vav. And we draw down this high level of Kedusha into the world in a Mamale Kol Almin way, which is called Shechina. And that's the 248 mitzvahs Aseh. And we see this concept of Eila connected to the vav and hey of Hashem's name, the vav, and this idea of revelation and hamshacha of the Ramach mitzvahs asay in different places in Torah. We see Eila ha-mitzvahs, these are the mitzvahs. Eila ha-edos, chukim, also says Eila moedei Hashem. So we see the positive mitzvahs is connected very much to this idea of Eila. And it also, very interestingly, the word Pekudei is the plural form, Lashon Rabim. So we need all of the 248 mitzvahs, not just one mitzvah or another mitzvah. We need all of them, in the plural, to draw down this yichud with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is sourced above. And that's why it's written on the pasuk al ila ani vaychia. On these I cry, is the pasuk in Echa. That is, I guess, lamenting on Bittul Torah. Eila hachukim mishpatim, and also the Bittul of the Karbanos. And we have another pasuk in Parshas Pinchas. Eila ta'ase Hashem b'maydecha. We need to say that through all of this, we draw down the Eila Pekudei Mishkan. Through performing the mitzvahs, through and through learning Torah, we draw down this vavke Eila Pekudei Mishkan, to draw down this level from Sev Kalmin into Mamala Kalmin. And therefore, in the Churban, Beis HaMikdash, it says, Al Eila ani vaychia, I am crying on these, and the Eila. And that's represents the stalkos, the departure of this revelation that was called the Eila. The Eila is a revelation. And because this Galilee light that was previously revealed in the world was returned back to its source, and it was now concealed from the world. As it says in the Zohar, the Aramaic says, Begin devav israchak vistalak mina uchedein rachel mavaka. So the vav, I guess the Zohar is saying the vav but departed from the world. There's the whole idea of revelation. And because of that, Rachel Imenu was crying. And all this is the level of Mishkan, which is El Pekudei Mishkan, which is this revelation of godliness into the world in a revealed way, which is the first Mishkan. The second Mishkan is Mishkan Ha'edus, Mishkan of testimony, which is the higher level of Mishkan, which is Yerushalayim Shalamayla, meaning to say the level of Yudke, which is called Nistaris, is able to be recognized down here, despite its concealment. It's able to be recognized through the Shvatim as a testimony to the Jewish people. And this unity of Yudke is through the mitzvahs lo saseh, specifically through the negative commandments, which are sourced in Yudke of Hashem's name. Chapter 6 of the Mimer. Ve'hine lavin mat oid beferish be'inyan mishkan ha'edus v'dus Yisrael. So now to understand more of this whole concept of Mishkan Edus in Edus Yisrael, what's this whole idea of Edus? That Edus represents the level of da'tכסיא, concealed world. And another reason we bring out a pasuk to really understand what's the whole idea of Edus and Eid. Revava, we have a pasuk from Yechezkel that says the following: Revava k'tzemach hasadeh nesatich v'tirbi v'tigdali v'tavoi ba'adi adayim. So I think it's talking about the praise of the Jewish people, that they, I guess they sprout like a field, and they get bigger, and they have adi adayim. So Rashi has two explanations of what is adi adayim. Obviously, adi adayim is connected to the word aid or edus. So adi adaim comes from the word adayad, like binyan adayad or bitchu v'Hashem adayad, the idea of like forever. Another explanation of adi is comes from the word adiyamer chayrev, which is the whole idea of the crowns. And adi is I guess jewelry or crowns the Jews wore when they, I guess, received the Torah. The two crowns being Naisa, Na'asa v'nishma, a crown for doing the Torah and a crown for understanding. And the whole idea of a Ketzinach Soda is the idea of a field that's sprouting, just like a field that's sprouting. The seed, in order for it to sprout, it has to be totally nullified. And only then it can sprout. In order to create something that's greater than it, to become something greater, first have to be totally nullified and totally disintegrated to the ground. So too in our Avodas Hashem do the same. And when we're in exile in Egypt, we're subjugated in the ultimate level. So that's the same idea as a seed that becomes totally disintegrated into the ground, until we have that level of ayin, that level of total bittul. And then we can grow, as the pasuk continues, vatirbi, vatigdali, vatavai. So vatigdali is the idea of gedula, gadol, greatness, growing. Like we're a great nation. Gadol havaya, shimcha gadol. Greatness is connected to havaya. And we also have b'nai hagadol. We have another word, pasuk that says barash gadol. So there's the idea of this greatness. V'toiva b'adaya daim, ba'adia daim. The continuation of the pasuk. That's the whole idea of the fact that the Jews merited their receiving the Torah, and through this, they got this crown. That was like the day of their wedding, that they had these two crowns of Nasa v'Nishma. And one very fascinating idea is a crown is hollow in the center. It's the idea of makif. The idea is you're not able to, it's not totally revealed and comprehensible. The right crown represents beyond comprehension because it sits above the head. And it's the level of Yashas Cheshach Sisrei, the idea of that darkness ends up becoming the veil of concealment is another layer of darkness, which is the ultimate darkness. The ultimate darkness leads to the ultimate of essence, connecting to essence. Just like Seder Shlishis is the most desired time of day, even though it's getting darker. And the Hashem's essence and concealedness is where you can really tap into Hashem at the highest level possible, is when you don't have that revelation. And that's the idea of the mitzvah leisaseh. Through the mitzvah leisaseh, we are able to draw down the level of Yud-K of Hashem's name, which is the nistaris, the concealment. And that's the second Mishkan in the pasuk, Mishkan ha'edus. And because it's Mishkan ha'edus, which is connected to the edus, which is the adi, which is the crown, which is beyond understanding. Adiyad, which is the idea of Ein Sof, infinite. And we say, in the davening, we say Hakol Yirei Mamucha Salah, right? In the Bracha Yitzer and Shabbos, that through the 8 keys of the infinite, we can actually comprehend godliness. And because we actually find a very fascinating Gemara where it says, whenever it says Netzach Salah or Va'ed, it actually means something infinite. So Va'ed, or Edus, connects to the infinite. But we find something very interesting that one hand it connects to the infinite, but on the other hand, Ad can imply limitation. For example, Ad play Savai, or Ad Kant Chum Shabbos, like Ad is like until here and not further. So that shows the an element of limitation. So, like Ad Khan, right? So we seem like we have that seeming contradiction, and this word Ad doesn't mean infinite, it doesn't mean finite. It seems like it means both. So that's exactly the point. That Ad Khan, the whole idea is there's a limitation. Ad is a limitation of limitations. So it's the limit in which your intellect can reach, but past that limitation, you reach unlimited levels of connecting to Hashem, which is even beyond limitation, beyond finite intellect. So that's what it means. Adi adayim, specifically in the plural form, that it is the crowns of all the different levels in the plural, because there's infinitely myriads of different levels of infinite beyond nature levels of reaching and connecting to Hashem and his essence. Now, that's why it says Mishkan Edus, because it's the level of Yudke, which is higher. It's connected to the concealed world that it's not revealed, and therefore it's Shaykh, the idea of Edus. Edus is revealing that which is concealed, and we can understand the fact that Edus is the idea of jewelry or ornaments that a person wears, like a crown. Because it draws down, it's kind of that intermediate that draws down from the infinite into the finite, and that's why it makes sense that the word aid can imply infinitude and finite, because it's that threshold between the two that draws down from infinite to finite. And that's why it says Asher Pukad al Pi Moshe, specifically al Pi Moshe. What's the idea? That this Mishkan Edus, that this testimony specifically is through Moshe. Why? Because Moshe represents the idea of Malchus, of Bittul, and drawing down from that. First, you have, like just to summarize, we have the positive mitzvahs, which is Eila HaMishkan, Eila Pekudei HaMishkan, which is the Vav Hey. That's the positive mitzvahs, drawing that down, and then we draw down from the even higher level of Mishkan Edus, which is through Moshe, because you need to have that ultimate level of Bittul, the Nachnuma, which is higher than Seichel, higher than Vavke, which is all the way from the level of Yudke, which is, you need Bittul in order to reach that level, which is even higher than Hamshacha, higher than Bracha. It's in the level of Lahoidos. That's why in the Pasuk in Tehillim it says Shesham Elo Shvatim Lahoidos. And that's why we find that by Rabbi Akiva, when he was davening, that it says that he would actually daven with so much kavana that he would start in one corner and he would end up in another corner of the shul while he was davening. And so what's the idea? That it's impossible to have this hamshacha, to have this from one level to, I guess, to come down into this world in a revealed way through intellect. Or the midas, but we had what he did was he had an ultimate bittul to Hashem, and he had so much hishtachava. He was prostrating himself in such a deep way through his bowing and through his prostrating himself during the Shemona Esrei, that he was actually able to move from one end of the shul to the other during the middle of the Shemona Esrei, because of that deep sense of bittul that he was able to accomplish in his davening, that he wouldn't have been able to accomplish otherwise. Have a wonderful day.